Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam 3.1.35, third canto, first chapter, text number 35. And so you can read the text. Apisvid anye cha nijatma devam, apisvid anye cha nijatma devam, ananya vritya samanuvrataye, ananya vritya samanuvrataye, ridhika satyatmaja charudeshna, ridhika satyatmaja charudeshna, gadadaha swasti charanti somya, gadadaha swasti charanti somya. Word by word meanings. Api, as also, swit, whether. Anye, others. Cha, and. Nijatma, of one's own self. Devam, Sri Krishna. Ananya, absolutely. Vritya, faith. Samanuvitta, followers. Ye, all those who. Hridika, Satya Atmaja, the son of Satyabhama. Charudeshna, Gada, Adyaha, and others. Swasti, all well. Charanti, pastime. Somya, O sober one. Translation. O sober one, others such as Hridika, Charudeshna, Gada, and the son of Satyabhama, who accept Lord Sri Krishna as the soul of the self and thus follow his path without deviation. Are they well? And so we have one more verse, because this is a short verse. We have Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto. First chapter, text number 36. So we can go ahead and read that. Api svadurbhayam vijachuta bhayam. Api svadurbhayam vijachuta bhayam. Dharmena dharma paripati setum. Dharmena dharma paripati setum. Duryodhano tapyata yat sabhyayam. Duryodhano tapyatas yat sabhyayam. Samrajya lakshmaya vija anuvritya. Samrajya lakshmaya vijaya anuvritya. And then let's go over the word by word meaning. Api, as also. Swa durbhayam, own arms. Vijaya, Arjuna. Achyuta bhayam, along with Sri Krishna. Dharmena, on religious principles. Dharma, Lord King Yudhishthir. Paripati, maintains. Setum, the respect of religion. Duryodhanaha, Duryodhan. Atap, yata, envied. Yat, whose. Sabha yam, royal assembly. Samrajya, imperial. Lakshmaya, opulence. Vijaya, anuvritya, by the service of Arjuna. Translation. Let me inquire whether Maharaj Yudhishthir is now maintaining the kingdom according to religious principles and with respect for the path of religion. Formerly, Yudhishthir was burning with envy because Yudhishthir was being protected by the arms of Krishna and Arjuna as if they were his own arms. Maharaj Yudhishthir, purport, Maharaj Yudhishthir was the emblem of religion. When he was ruling his kingdom with the help of Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the opulence of his kingdom surpassed all imaginations of the opulence of the kingdom of heaven. His actual arms were Lord Krishna and Arjuna, and thus he surpassed everyone's opulence. Duryodhana, being envious of this opulence, planned so many schemes to put Yudhishthira into difficulty, and at last the battle of Kurukshetra was brought about. After the battle of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhishthira was able to again rule his legitimate kingdom, and he reinstated the principles of honor and respect for religion. That is the beauty of a kingdom ruled by a pious king like Maharaj Yudhishthira. So they're both like nice verses. So let's get started. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. So the first verse is 3.1.35, and in this verse, Vidura is asking Uddhava on the banks of the Yamuna river. He's asking about the welfare of some members of the of the Yadus, basically. So he says, O sober one, others such as Ridhika, Charudeshna, Gada, and the son of Satyabhama, who accept Lord Sri Krishna as the soul of the self, and thus follow his path without deviation, are they well? So as we know that Lord Krishna, he had 16,108 queens, and each had 10 sons. And so some of these over here is like we are talking about Charudeshna, and who was also a son. Actually, all his sons, mostly they were headed by Pradyumna, Charudeshna, and Samba. And Gada is a member of the Yadu dynasty, and Krishna's younger brother, son of Vasudeva and Sudama. And Satyabhama, she was the third queen consort of Lord Krishna, and she was actually the incarnation of Bhudevi, who was the goddess of earth, and she helped Krishna in defeating Narakasura, and she had 10 sons. So basically over here in this particular verse, Vidura is asking about the welfare of some of the Yadus, and particularly the point is being mentioned who accept Lord Krishna as the soul of the self and follow his path without deviation. That is what Vidura is interested in, because he's a pure devotee. So he naturally is inquiring after pure devotees of Lord Krishna. And so I came across an interesting passage in the Nectar of Devotion, chapter 40. And over here it talks a little bit about reverential devotion of sons and other subordinates. And so it's talking about basically the sons of Lord Krishna and some of the other Yadus who were very devoted to Lord Krishna. And it is said here that true reverential devotion is exhibited by persons who think themselves subordinate to Krishna and by persons who are the sons of Krishna. And the best examples of subordination are Sharana, Gada, and Subhadra. And of course, in this verse, we are talking about Gada. They were all members of the Yadu dynasty, and always they used to think that they're protected by Krishna. And then he's talking about the sons of Lord Krishna, how the sons of Lord Krishna were very, very devoted to him, and they were always like protected from him, by him. And it is said that sometimes the behavior of Krishna's son, it appears similar to the behavior of the personal servants. Like the sons were always, they used to offer obeisances, they were silent, submissive, gentle, always carrying out Krishna's orders, and they bowed on the ground, they were very silent and steady. And and then it is said that a person who has established his relation with Krishna no longer acts on material plane, so that is how the sons of Krishna were, which is very nice to know. So I thought I'll share. So, but as far as this verse goes, he's just inquiring about the welfare of those who were very devoted to Lord Krishna. Then we go up on the second verse, and the second text. And the second text is saying, is talking about Vidura inquiring about Maharaj Yudhishthir, and he's saying, Maharaj Yudhishthir, is he maintaining his kingdom according to religious principles? Is he respecting religion? And formerly Duryodhana was burning with envy because Yudhishthir was being protected by the arms of Krishna and Arjuna as if they were his own arms. So two main points are brought about in this translation and also by Prabhupada. One is the pious nature of Yudhishthir, and one is the envy of Duryodhana. So actually, Duryodhana's envy of the Pandavas' fortune is the root cause of this whole Mahabharata tragedy. It is not that he had any less, but then when he saw that his cousins were having more, that is what actually caused him to suffer. And as far as Yudhishthir was concerned, of course, he was Dharma Raja, like he's always known as the pious one, upholder of Dharma, and Pandu Putra. And of course, he was born of Kunti and actually Dharma, or that is Yamraj. And so he himself was very, very righteous. And of course, he was the king of Indraprastha, the capital Hastinapur. And when he was growing up, Vidura and Bhishma, they influenced him a lot. And mostly he was very good at chariot, at the chariot racing. He was good at spear fighting. Actually, he also knew many unusual languages. He was a polyglot. But most of all, of course, was not that. The thing was that he was very much after truth, that is Satya, and very much after righteousness, that is Dharma. So that is why he was mostly very famous, And as we all know that, nobody could beat him as far as, Dharma was concerned among the brothers. He was a very, very righteous person. So I thought I'll just, of course, he exhibited his dharma, his righteousness in many, many different ways. And I thought I'll just do a very quick summary of, many of you may have heard of the Yaksha Prashnas, like, once the Pandavas, when they were in the exile, and 12th year, after the 12th year, or around the end of the 12th year, they were chasing a deer, and one to help a sage out, actually. And one by one, they were very thirsty, and one by one, they went to the lake, and there they were questioned by a crane. But all the Pandavas, other than Yudhishthir, they fell down dead because they wouldn't answer the crane's questions. And finally, of course, Yudhishthir, of course, being the most righteous, when he went, he was wondering where my brothers are. And so he went and started answering, and the crane asked him questions. The crane later transformed into Yaksha. And Yudhishthir answered all the questions very, very perfectly, according in a very dharmic way. So we don't have like time to go through all his questions and answers, but if you have a chance, you can actually read it, because it's very interesting. You can ponder a little bit about what he's saying, because he's saying very, very his answers are very elevated. So I'm just going to pick a few of the questions. So the Yaksha asked, what is heavier than earth? And he says, a mother's love, which is true. There's nothing comparable to the love of a mother. Then by what does one become wise? By serving one's elders. Then what are the tidings of the world? The world is like a cooking pot with the sun as its fire, days and nights as its fuel, and months and seasons as its wooden spoons. All of us are being cooked by time, which is so true. And what is the most wonderful thing? The most wonderful thing is that although every day innumerable humans and their animals go to the abode of death, still man thinks he is immortal. And what makes the soul rise out of matter? It is knowledge of the Supreme Lord, which makes the soul rise. So really, really wonderful. And of course, I'm not even reading all the questions because, as I said, in the interest of time. And also, what makes the soul rise out of entanglement of matter? It is knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Who keeps him company? Who is the guide on his spiritual journey? And what is he established? So he says, godly qualities are his companions. Dharma is his guide, and he is established on truth. So like that, there were many questions, and finally the Yaksha reveals himself as Yamraj, and he says, I was just testing you, and what do you, and and Yudhishthir manages to get all his, he asked, which brother would you like to come to life? And Yudhishthir says, I think it was Nakula whom he said that he wants, because he wants one son of the other mother to to come to life. And the the Yaksha is very pleased, and all his brothers come to life, and he also asked for blessings for the last year of exile, and that they should remain incognito. And one more thing he asked, that grant that I may always overcome avarice, folly, and anger, and my mind always be inclined towards charity and truth and asceticism. And Dharma said that you already are. So that way, we just see a lot of Duryodhana's wisdom, and even the way he ruled his kingdom, even the final episode in life, when he went to heaven, and a dog, there was a story of a dog that had been, he was protecting, and he wouldn't enter heaven, even though Indra was insisting, unless the dog came with him, because he had taken up protection of the Lord, and Indra was very impressed. So it was little things like that. And on the other hand, we have this Duryodhan, who was just the opposite, and he was so filled with envy for the what do you say, Pandavas, that he could not even function properly. And so once what happened is that this was the time when the division of the Kuru lands had taken place after the Draupadi was married, and Draupadi also came and insisted, and talked to Dhritarashtra, and Bhishma and Dhritarashtra knew now they would have to divide the Kuru lands. And so they gave the Pandavas the Khandavprasth, which was a very barren land, and it was a totally useless land. But with Krishna's help, they even managed to transform that into very, very beautiful land, and a place full of dharma. And they were doing a Rajasuya Yagya, and Yudhishthira being coronated and all, and Duryodhan was invited. And the prince Duryodhan came over there, and he burned with envy, because they had far exceeded him. He had not managed to do something. But Duryodhan was emperor of the world, and now he was so jealous. And then he especially came to this Maya Sabha, which was the assembly hall. And there he saw designs. He was amazed by the workmanship and the splendor. He felt as though he was coming to heavenly planets. And it said here that, there was a cool breeze, and there were bright gems, and there was lotus-filled lakes, and exquisite carvings of gods and their consorts. And, he just couldn't take it, Duryodhan. And he saw a lot of opulence, a lot of wealth, and people paying homage to the Pandavas. And he just got very jealous, and he started snapping at people. And we all, I think many of us know that he came to that incident of a large crystal pond, and the water was still, so you couldn't make out whether it was water or it was just the marble flow that was leading to it. And Duryodhan made that mistake. And it is said over here, and he fell straight into the water. And The Pandavas started laughing. Some of Krishna's queens started laughing. And Yudhishthir at that time, he felt sorry for Duryodhan. So he went and he gave him dry clothes and all, and, told his brothers not to laugh at him. But the Duryodhan was really angry because, first of all, he had failed to win Draupadi, and even Draupadi had laughed actually when he fell into the lake. So he got so angry, and all throughout it is said over here is that, when he was going back, he was just keeping on sighing with Shakuni. Shakuni was returning back, and, he was just keeping on grumbling that. And he says, "Oh, uncle, I'm filled with jealousy to see the world under the Pandavas' sway, after witnessing their sounding sacrifice and seeing them shining like the gods in heaven. My heart burns day and night." So then, of course, Shakuni, we know, comes up with a master plan that, okay, they earned it, but you can get their kingdom because, let's challenge them to a game of dice. And there's no one who can play a game of dice as well as as well as I can. So, and then Duryodhan, of course, went to Dhritarashtra to take permission. And Dhritarashtra tried to convince him that what's the use? Even you can become powerful, and why are you envying them? But he just refused to listen, and he told Dhritarashtra everything that they've got, like such a lot of he says Yudhishthir was given so much tribute. He has been offered these millions of all these animals and heaps of gems, and and then he describes everything, and he just refuses to listen to his father. So father says, "Okay, I'll talk to Vidura," and Vidura recommends the same thing, that don't enter into this whole gambling match thing. But Dhritarashtra, of course, Dhritarashtra also tells his son again, but his son doesn't listen. And in the end, of course, Dhritarashtra is so much for his son that he just says he agrees to his son's proposal. And then so he tells Vidura that go and call them. He says, "Brother, everything lies in the hand of destiny. If destiny wills it, we will not be harmed." And then Vidura's thing is, okay, destiny is one thing, but your own free will is another. But he knows that, he cannot convince them. So he goes, and he goes and invites, and the rest we know, what all that all led to. So main thing over here is, of course, we see that Yudhishthir was very, very righteous, but we also see the problem with the envy. So Bhagavad Gita 12, 13, 14, it talks about envy a little bit. Two verses I thought I'll just read. That is, one who's not envious, but a kind friend to all living beings, who does not think himself as a proprietor, which all these Duryodhan was not, and is free from false ego, who's equal in happiness and distress, who is tolerant, self-satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination. His mind and intelligence fixed with me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. So Krishna talks about not being envious over here. And, how important it is that we should not be envious. And thinking of, there was a little story that I had, that a sage called his disciples and told them that, bring a bag of potatoes and have those many potatoes of, as many people you are envious of, and write their names. And so they came with their bag of potatoes, and the sage said, carry these around for wherever you go, whether you're sleeping, eating, whatever work you're doing, carry them around for 7 days. So the disciples, they being dutiful, they carried those. Some had fewer potatoes, because they had fewer people whom they were jealous of, envious of, and, some had more, but they carried it around. And after a few days, the potatoes started rotting. And finally, when they came on the 7th day, they were complaining to the to the sage that, why did you ask us to carry potatoes, because this is all like rotting. So the sage said, imagine it's only rotting outside, but if you carry envy in your heart, then your heart gets polluted. And if you don't love somebody, at least don't hate them, and make your heart light, throw away all the envy. So that was a good thing. We need to learn to, to do that really, in order to progress spiritually. And just one more thing is Bhagavad Gita 16.19. Krishna says, those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. So, the body that we have been given also has been given by Krishna only. And it is according to his wish, that we've been given. And Krishna quite makes it clear that those who are envious and mischievous, he doesn't like those. So if we are envious, so first of all of us have the super soul, which is also part of Krishna. So we can think of it like, okay, if somebody is better off than I am, then I can see the Krishna in them, So if I'm envying them, I'm actually envying Krishna in a way, we can see it that way. So, and sometimes what happens is we are so much focused on others that we lose sight of our own journey. It's like two cyclists going on the road, and one is just concentrating on his or her own road, and the other one is just keeping on looking at the other one. And the one who's looking at the other one then falls down, from the cycle, from the bike or cycle, So that's what happens when, so some tips that, I can think of, and I mean, this is a very practical application, and it's not necessarily going to happen at once, but like we have to keep telling ourselves and we have to keep working on it, is that, and I tell my children also, so about this, that, that we all have our own journey, that you cannot compare yourself to somebody else. You have to basically compare to yourself. You run your race, you let others run their race, because their nature is different, their opportunities are different. Whatever you have got, that you try to perfect, whatever is in your control. It is your journey, and then you don't have to be, compared to somebody else. And then another thing is, always appreciate your own qualities. Everybody has their own qualities, so appreciate yourself, build yourself up. Why you feel that you are not good enough as another person? You may be good in another way, they may be good in another way, you will be good in another way. And so, when you are dealing with that positivity, then the negativity doesn't come. Then another thing is that we are all equal in the eyes of God. We're all God's children, like just like our children are all equal to us. We may be a little fond because someone obeys us more, but at the end of the day, we are all equal. And then also another thing is, you can dream big, but do not make that like a obsession at the cost of your health or at the cost of relationships. There's some of the points that I could think of. That way, the jealousy doesn't creep in. And another thing is, be very simple, like be content with everything. And, whatever you got, the contentment is the best. So this is the problem with Duryodhana, is that he was not looking at his own journey, and he had become very discontented, and, he had getting very obsessive about things. And so that was what was actually became a big issue. And so instead of focusing on himself, he started focusing on others, and in pulling down others, and is what became the problem. So so that's what we just have to learn from these Bhagavatam verses, in the sense that firstly it gives us very good pastimes of Krishna, and we should learn about the pastimes, but we should also learn lessons from them. And it's not that we are perfect, it's just such a constant journey of improvement, I think, because we take one step and again go two steps backward. But as devotees, at least if we realize the problem, we've at least acknowledged what the problem is, and we can learn from these great devotees. So of course, again, summarizing the first verse, Vidura is talking about the Yadus, sons of Krishna, and and so forth. And the second one, he's talking about Yudhishthir, and how Yudhishthir was protected by Krishna and Arjun. And then he's talking about Duryodhan, who was basically envious, and he's just inquiring about, are they fine, and how are they doing in a way. So how is Yudhishthir maintaining his kingdom? So these are just inquiry verses as per the previous verses. So that's all I have. If anyone has any realizations or comments, questions quickly, then we can, please feel free to share.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Such a beautiful and practical discussion. Thank you so much. I really loved the aspect of envy, the way you brought up, and that potato story. It's very nice. I was actually thinking as you're speaking, it's so beautiful and so heart-touching. I'm like, oh, how come Mataji is giving such a nice SB class? There is a little bit of envy. And then you talk about this. I'm like, no, I want to appreciate and really learn from that. I was thinking for myself.
I think Mataji, we all have to like work right at it, or everything also. Yeah, yes.
It's very beautiful the way you have brought up and touched both in one verse, how that contrasting of what we need to and what we have to be guard against. It's very beautifully discussed in that one verse, and how you have brought up is really beautiful. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji, for your comment. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna Mataji. I was thinking about, since you spoke about Dharma, I was just meditating on Dharmam tu Sakshat Bhagavat Pranitam. That was. There actually, this was actually when Vishnu Dutas asks Yamudutas about the religion. So when we talk about Yudhishthira, he was a Dharmaraj, of course, in his previous life. So in that context, when you say follow Dharma, it is really difficult to follow Dharma, whether in this material world or up there in the planet Earth or in the higher planetary systems. But I was also about why Indra is been so much favorable. Krishna favors Indra somehow. I was thinking, why is it so? Because he tries to follow the Dharma always. And that is why even though he is not a pure devotee, Krishna likes Indra because he follows Dharma. So, the Dharma aspect of Dharma, it is very difficult to follow. But then I was reading that when something that Dharmam it came to my mind, then I just went into that verse. And finally, Prabhupada writes in that purport, yeah, Dharma is right because Dharma might be misunderstood with its ritualistic ceremonies, etc. The real Dharma is to sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma sujha. So Prabhupada gives that transcendental, the real Dharma is to surrender to Krishna. So whatever we follow Dharma, even the Dharma for me may not be the Dharma for other ones, but based on the scriptures, the real Dharma is to just to surrender to Krishna. In that way, that's how when we surrender to Krishna, then we imbibe the consciousness of Krishna. In that way, we don't have that jealousy or envy. Of course, we are all human beings. It will come, jealousy, envy, as every point of time when we see something within the devotee or the devotee, it will all come. But the point is, when that purity comes, by imbibing that Krishna's consciousness in our heart and try to apply, it's basically, so we are all I am actually still theoretical. So application is the main thing which when acts for everyone. So we are in the process of learning and process of purification. So imbibing our Krishna consciousness in our heart and follow and apply in our life, that's what changes this envy or jealousy or whatnot. So Duryodhana, or there are so many examples as you gave in Srimad Bhagavatam, Mahabharata. But for us, my takeaway point is how I can apply that Krishna consciousness in my life. Thank you, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu, you beautifully put it, because in the end of Bhagavad Gita itself, Krishna says, surrender to me. And that's what will drive away all these bad qualities gradually. The only thing is we have to be very, very focused and really apply it, as you said, the application part, right? So very beautifully put, Prabhu. Thank you. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sri Mataji. Very wonderful, eloquent talk. You kept my attention throughout. I didn't I very seldom listen to things like that. One of the things you've been talking about envy of Dusana and how we should not be envious. But unfortunately or fortunately, we are born in Kali Yuga, and even our education system, very subtle way teaches envy, and we call it and we call it like a healthy competition, giving extra names to it, extra adjectives. And by that, what we teach is you just can't tolerate somebody else's success. If somebody is doing something, oh, I can do it better. And this I can do it better is not just about me doing better, but when I start doing it better, I better not see the other person doing better. So I start scheming, pulling them down, so I am the only one. And like Prabhu also said, the only way we can come out of this is by serving the Lord, that we all understand. But then we have this systematic way of propagating envy, so it's so difficult to overcome. And maybe we are all blessed because we have come under Srila Prabhupada's umbrella. So if you have a few words, you can.
Yes, Prabhu. Unfortunately, even the education system does that. I see that with my own children also. Constantly I'm telling them, have your own journey, But as you mentioned, Prabhu, that, with Krishna consciousness, at least we are seeing that the problem is there, Some people, they're not even seeing it as a problem, like, outside in the materialistic world. But at least we are acknowledging that, okay, this is a problem, Whether we are able to conquer it totally, at least we are trying to, So as you said, it's the key is Krishna consciousness and surrender to Krishna. And gradually, it's just gradual steps. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Prabhu. It's very much there, especially in the materialist world and Kali Yuga. Yeah. Anybody else? Or okay, if not, we'll conclude. Thank you very much for attending. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.